It's a painful sight for Kiwi netball fans. Two Australian captains lifting the silverware. Can they break the cycle in 2010 and put New Zealand into the history books for the first time? Good afternoon, great to have you with us for another season of ANZ Championship Netball. Now, there's been a lot of player movement in the off-season, particularly among the Kiwi teams. A lot of Silver Ferns switching allegiance, which should provide some excitement in the opening rounds. And of course, we here at One Sport have also got a new addition to our commentary team. Ricky Swinell, lovely to have you with us, joining Julie Coney, as always. Lovely to have you both here. Now, let's get right into it and talk about these player movements. Let's start with the losers in this competition so far. The Southern Steel, Katrina Grant has gone to the Pulse. Donna Wilkins is not playing this year, and Adine Wilson, of course, is having her second child. How much do they lose, Ricky, with those players not being there? Because they're very experienced players, aren't they?
Huge amount of experience to lose in one hit, especially when you think Katrina Grant is a Silver Fern. She may only be young, but she's still a Silver Fern. She's got that international experience. Add Megan Hutton to that. She's retired as well. Cheryl Scanlon out with injury. That's a big hit of experience to lose in one go.
And Megan Dean now captaining the side. Julie, what do you make of that? An Australian captaining a Kiwi side.
Oh, I know. It's not really right, is it? But look, Megan Dean's a real leader and has been and played in a number of New Zealand teams now. She's almost an honorary Kiwi, isn't she? And I think her leadership is going to be critical in the making of the Steel side. I think her support around Whippi is very, very important.
Well, I don't know what it is about the South Island teams, because the Canterbury Tactics have also been hit particularly hard. Jodie Brown gone to the Magic. Julie Seymour, of course, is retired. She's now the assistant coach. And Sonia McCloma going across the ditch to the New South Wales Swifts. I'm taking the Central Pulse to actually beat the Tactics in the first round, and I have grave fears for them, Julie.
That's a big call.
It's big. It's big. Yeah, they've only won one game ever.
I know. But I tend to agree, and there's quite a few pundits saying the same thing, aren't they? Because they have been hit hard, and they've been hit hard in every area of the court. They've lost McCloma, as you say, from the defence. Seymour, such experience from the mid. Of course, she's going to be on the bench alongside Marn Stroud as an assistant coach, so that will be a benefit to them. And, of course, I think the biggest loss, Jodie Brown, from that attack end. Who's going to be in the circle with Thompson?
Great game
needs
for
some
Magic,
support.
obviously.
Young players are going to have to step up.
Well, the big winners, without a doubt, are the Northern Mystics. They've managed to nab a whole host of Silver Ferns from the Magic. Jolene Henry and Maria Tutaia, Larissa Wilcox coming from the Tactics. There's no excuse, Ricky, now, is there, for the Mystics? They came 8th last season, very disappointing. With that many Ferns, you'd think they'd have to feature in the top 4.
That's recruitment gone into overdrive, isn't it? They have gone nuts. And with those players added to the ones they already had, of course, Temu Pata-George and Catherine Latu, that's a very talented lineup on paper. The question is, can they gel all of those players at one point to get them working together? Hasn't worked at the Magic in the past, all those Ferns.
Exactly.
Will it work at the Mystics? We wait and find out.
Yes, the old team of stars thing, isn't it? And whether they can work together. And I just think the big thing for me is the injury that struck them prior to even the start of this competition, with Tutaia, with Henry, and with Jenny May Coffin.
Jenny May Coffin, of course, today. Now, she's an example of a Silver Fern that's come back into the fold, and there's been a few this season. Peter Scholes for the Magic is one. Ricky, what do you make of her? How much of an asset will she be, given they've lost so many to the Mystics?
Huge asset. I'm really looking forward to seeing her in this competition. She was fantastic for the World 7 last year. Really led that team around, especially against the Silver Ferns. Very professional, got that hard-nosed Australian element, has settled in well at the Mount by all accounts as well. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how Peter Scholes fits in.
And her teammate, of course, Jodie Brown, Julie. She was with the Tactics last year, but I did go down to their training, and she does look like a different player. She's dropped a bit of weight, but she will be different to Tutaia in that mix.
Well, she will. The one thing, you know, you say she's done a lot of work. The one thing I'd really like to see from Jodie Brown is a bit more of a change of pace in the goal attack position. I think, for want of a better word, and I mean this in the nicest way, she has been a bit of a plodder on attack.
One pace.
Yes, one pace. And so I think some variation in there. It'll be interesting to see her alongside Irene van Dijk. They've played together before, and I think will be a great strength. She's She's a big target, has a great hold, and I think they'll combine quite nicely. So I don't think the Magic have lost too much.
And we're talking about former Silver Ferns coming back into the mix. Anna Galvin last played for the Ferns in 2003, and she's putting herself on the line, coming back into this new Trans-Tasman competition. I guess for the Tactics, they'll be loving it because they've lost so many players.
They need that experience, don't they? For me, I suppose, with Anna Galvin coming back in, the big thing is going to be how she handles the pace, how she handles the hits. It's meant to be a non-contact sport, of course, but it's very, very physical.
She was always very aggressive in her day, though, wasn't she?
Very much so. It's just whether she can adapt once again.
And I think very important having her alongside Charlotte Kite, that experience of Galvin with Kite. I mean, Kite was outstanding last year, wasn't she? So we hope that she continues her form.
Well, aside from the player movement, we've also had some interesting captaincy calls. We've got some new rules being employed this year for the first time. And, of course, our friend across the Tasman is at it already.
So we're approaching season 3, and the harsh reality is Australia is totally dominating this competition. So no surprises, our good friend from across the ditch, Norma Plummer, is sticking her knife in early. She says that New Zealand is not good enough to have 5 teams, that one should be cut and handed to the Aussies. Suppose it's hard to argue when they have won the trophy 2 years running. This year it's up to the Kiwi teams to prove her wrong. Interesting then that 2 Australian players are captaining Kiwi teams this season, Megan Dean at the Steel and Jane Altschwager at the Pulse. Not exactly a great confidence booster for our young up-and-coming Kiwi leaders, but hey, if that's what it takes to beat the Aussies, then I'm all for it. Now, some new developments this year in the ANZ Championship is that the coaches will be able to talk to their players during stoppages in each game. And I tell you what, I can't wait to see these ladies getting fired up from the sideline. Also, yes, thank you, I'm very stoked about this one. There will be a full 60-second countdown timer on display at the end of every game. Every other sport has it, and finally netball is up with the program. Now, my team to watch this year is the Mystics. Not only have they nabbed a handful of Silver Ferns, but their Jamaican import, Althea Byfield, has been on a complete rampage. She's managed to pick up 3 speeding tickets in 1 week, and that is not easy to do.
There's something about my car when it gets to that area on that road where I don't know if it's who want to see who is more dominant, but the car just decides to go over the limit all the time. I just can't understand it.
Well, here's hoping she can bring that speed to the court.
There is something I'd like you to get off your chest.
Hi, I'm Plenty.
But of course